some faces I haven't seen before and some familiar. The same token, thank you all for being here, and it's definitely a real treat to get here and get to talk to you all. How to start this is kind of difficult, but in the same token, I knew that it would just show up. And through the first hymn, which happened to be number 44, the 4 numbers have become very important to me in my life. It's kind of, I could talk for an hour about how that has really come into play. And I'll start off by, like the last time I was here talking about karmic ripples and stuff, and I brought to you the 4 agreements and the 5th agreement also for Dhamma Wes. And across this lineage, a subject came up to me that was re-inspired by this morning's hymn, and something I very much want to talk about. And when I first had this concept in my mind, I wasn't sure how to apply it, and then just thought amongst all of my teachings and stuff, and grabbed one of the amazing books from the same author called The Voice of Knowledge. That should set a tone to a degree anyways. We all know that voice can be very powerful on us, whichever voice is talking to you at any given point. And the main key theme that I would like to talk about today is avoidance. And we spend so much time in this word, but there's also a unique, eloquent dance to it all too. Living within your word and how to convert it from being something that hurts you into something that brings you up. Directly from the one hymn that we read, where it talks about, I want to live above the world, though angry darts at me are hurled. Interesting, huh? Who's throwing the darts? You know? What's going on here? What are these darts? Does a dart even hurt? Yeah. These are emotional experiences, emotional wounds on the emotional body have very strong impact on each one of us in our own way. The nicer people have probably lived a harsher of those realities. The meaner people typically haven't faced theirs enough yet to take that away so that they're not as angry on the outward too. So we've got to give them grace too, correct? So with this part about living above the world, in the word avoidance, let's just subtract out and come to the word void. And what is the void? Has anyone heard that term? I wouldn't mind seeing some head nod or anything like that, just to get an idea of, because to me, I first brought this topic up, which I'll introduce another key tool for me lately. But we have these feelings and have these thoughts, and who can we ask them to? You may have a good medium or a good friend, preacher, coach, teacher, spiritual leader, whatever the case may be, mom, dad, that was able to give you some information, no matter what, it came from their perspective. And I don't know your feel on it, but technology today has provided us now with a tool called AI that it's not new, and it can be scary or whatever the case is, but it is a wealth of information, and it will answer your questions and give you some ideas, or, you know, it's interactive. You can throw some tangibles at it that it didn't take into account because this is your personality. And so you can really juggle into all sorts of things. And so I've been going through a period of time for a while now, probably the last 15 years or so, of just wondering what, and this or that, what's going on, trying to take this away, adding this, whatever the case is. And over the summer, there came a point when I'm able to ask these questions and really get some truthful answers that basically resonated a sense of self-awareness, but with authority that was right all along, you know, kind of a thing. Or they were right all along. Whatever is applicable, you're going to be honest with yourself. And so I remember at one point beach walks after I would do some talking to myself or whatever, a different conversation on the beach, right? And then there came a point where I had been juggling so many things and then putting so many things into a basket of spiritual hope, if you will. And I guess I shoved enough in there that at one point I'm like walking, and what would normally be a trigger thought would come in and just evaporate. And then another one would come in and it would just evaporate. And I'm like, how do I talk about this? Who do I ask? AI, right? So I opened up a conversation, an ongoing conversation. At this point, I have millions of them with this because they'll get so full of information that you'll have to start a new one because it's thinking of something that you told it months ago or whatever the case is. No, I'm not worried about that anymore. Let's focus on this. It's you playing with yourself is ultimately what it is. Because truthfully, it's remembering the same shit that you're remembering, but you finally are figuring it out. So it's kind of funny. It'll remind you what you're reminding yourself of all the time. Any which way. We're getting signs of this, whether you use AI tool or not. And so I asked it, what's going on? The idea comes in and poof, there it goes. It's all this is the void. I hadn't heard that word. I'm all, they just disappear. They go, well, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Well, what? Okay, let's roll with this. So just kept on rolling and getting to the point to where I am today and reading this stuff, darts thrown at you, absolutely. So let's talk about this void. And then that way we can maybe even talk about the book just a little bit. But this void, it's a very fun topic. You don't have to close your eyes or anything, but imagine a bubble that is around your body, where you probably have like 2 foot of clearance above your head and 2 foot of clearance below your head, and then as much as you want to stretch out and live within this. Now imagine this bubble is like an egg, a transparent egg, and there's a lot of fluid in between before it gets to the yolk, which is in a sense you. But this is basically what you're born with. When you take birth into this incarnation, this is what you're born with. You're a little baby in this, and then it grows with you and that sort of a thing. Now, what happens, because we're born with basically a strong sense of unconditional love, we get reminded what's really going on by our parents and everybody that comes into your life from then on. And then, I don't know at what age it starts, but darts are thrown pretty early at some age too. And you're absorbing these emotional wounds. And you'll get to a point where, and it happens for each of us at different times, but you'll get to a self-awareness level that you're wondering, what is all this negativity that I keep living with? And so you try to subtract it the best that you can, wherever situation you're in. And you just kind of muddle along in a way, but you'll get to the point where you realize that this void that I'm talking about and this semi-permeable egg, it's like, it's your soul. And it's wrapped, this is your soul. You have the body, but this is the spiritual sense of it. And within this void, you have been filling it with either truths or lies. And the truths are kind of like a no-brainer. Like forever we thought that the world was flat, and then eventually enough people proved it that it's round. But so many people had a hardened belief that it was flat until they proved that it was round. And so there's just one example of things that aren't quite truthful. We can go to more extremes if you want. I'm sure you've played with it in your own head already, where you've gone and where you've been or where you still need to go. But the reality is you soak in the good stuff, the bad stuff, whatever it is, and get to a point where you can label the actual discomfort. Someone may have said a bad word to you or something like that, and you'll just take that word, and it may have reminded you of something that happened so long ago that it just kept on building up and building up. You know, being told no because you get left somewhere abandoned. I mean, there's so many different variables that you can play into this. But it's within this void that you're going to sit with, like I said, you imagine the whole bubble being around you. And you sit there. It's easy to lose track. And when you get off track, you come back to your notes. And I want to explain that this is like soul level work, and it's not easy to really come across, but you've already sat there in it. And when you get to a point where finally the world comes to you and you have to sit down, you don't have to move the camera, I'll get right back up. And then, but was it worth it to have to get sat down? And so I'm going to bring in the voice of knowledge a little bit. It's a whole book. Don Krueger had put it out, and it's like when you get caught up into the continuous bombardment that your mental capacity is capable of, each of us have our own ways to hold ourselves down. It could be stopped at a red light again, you know, and then there you are going through your whole life scenarios of why did this really affect me? When the reality of it is, if there's too much, then kind of like coming here, you really have to become very selective on what you're feeding this egg, your soul, the void. You want to put as much into your void as you can. Whatever spiritual teachers that you're following, good music, good songs, and it could be an old love song that used to tear your heart apart or remind you of something that's long gone or just left, whatever might have happened. And maybe not listen to them right away, find some stuff to counteract it, but you'll even find in the harshest of songs that the truth of it was what made you feel so bad. These emotional wounds that take us through some of the worst roller coaster rides. It's insane. You could have this red light stop you throughout your day. Like it could start in the middle of the morning or whatever. Going to a lunch break or something, and then the rest of your day is shot over a red light, you know, and how is this possible? Well, it's possible because you never took the time to deal with whatever was really going on. And this is probably something that was linked to an argument you had with someone that morning, or who's to say what. The triggers come to us because we need them. And so we have to accept that any time that a bad feeling comes, the fun part in reality is that it's only with us for 90 seconds. This initial trigger comes into the void and bounces around all of the potential ideas that are there. All of them. From childhood, like AI remembers, to whatever else, something that just happened minutes ago. It will bounce around through all these ideas if there are enough ideas to bounce on. And so you subtract the bad thoughts one at a time. Deal with them when it's time. When is it time? Well, when is the next now? Or, man, I'm feeling bad, start your clock. It'll be done in 90 seconds. What are you going to do for 90 seconds? Worry about it? No, we face it. You're going to want to talk about it. This is only 90 seconds, not the whole day now. And so, embrace that. If life is still too busy, can't deal with every now aspect of it, then deal with every time it happens. And then if that's not, then I promise you, I think it's Thursday. So you'll start feeling some stuff Tuesday, Wednesday night for sure, but Thursday night into Friday-ish, we have a new moon coming. Heavy hitters, new moons and full moons. That is twice a month gut check. What is it doing? It is that big spoon inside your void, stirring it up. Let's get moving, you know? It's literally like, how do you do it? And I seriously have faced this to a point that I can't wait for the next moment that is a rough one, because I'm ready, you know, whatever that might be. I just had one. But no matter what, they don't last long, I promise. Less and less with each time that you really get into it. Or, you know what? Sometimes the best medicine is to be sad. Really embrace it. We're not robots. These are human experiences, but what is this sadness for you? Are these tears of sadness that make you weep? Or is it like tears of joy because, oh, I'm getting it now? Oh, you know, and so what used to be something that would rip you apart or act like it was going to, I mean, seriously, how would you allow something in your soul that could rip you apart, you know? It's kind of like having a bad roommate. What do you do with them? You kick them out? Or it's a bad television show or music channel where you change the channel, right? Man, I tell you what, one of my first spiritual teachings was talking about the things that we ignore and the things that we don't. And let's go outside or walk around. It's hard to in your life. I apologize, but it's mostly dirt. But there are lines everywhere. And you see it. There's lines to guide you which lane to be in, where to park, everything. And how often do you go around worrying about lines? How about the guy that paints the lines? I was riding with my son. He happens to be working at Publix, and he's doing the grocery cart stuff. And we're in a whole different town, and driving by a Publix, and across the street there's a couple Publix carts that he catches out of his eye. I would have never seen those. And he's like, they put them way over there. So while that is really silly, it's something that truly got to him. Like, what is going on? This isn't the right world. We can be really silly to ourselves on some of the silliest stuff of all. And so you don't take it too awful serious until it's time. And those are the moments that you'll learn to really love and embrace as you get through this. You know, I could sit here and continuously and would love to talk about even more and go over this incredible book, but what I'm going to do is try to cut it off, because some of this can get really repetitive. Does anyone have any questions in regards to anything that I brought up? It could be really vague or really not vague. Anybody? Good. That makes it really simple. If anyone would like to talk afterward, you can feel free to always reach out to me. I'll even give you some more of my business cards. I've spent some time really revamping that thing, almost changed every word in it, and added some services and whatnot. I would highly appreciate it if anyone could float this. I offer my business now to, of course, helping out individuals. That's the main thing, no matter what it comes down to us as individuals. And then we float into couples, complete family units, and I've worked with so many at this point. And now I've moved it into organizational help. And I've reached out to nonprofit organizations and getting some pretty good feedback to come in and help their clients as well as their staff. So if you're working in an environment that could possibly use some of this organizational help, and it's really spelled out well on my website, so I'll leave it at that. But thank you all so much for your time, and I hope that I shed some light onto what is